Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Float-driven CEO podcast. I have two guests with us at this point in time with the show, but I'll first introduce Šarūnas Navickas, and I have not pronounced that properly because of my Aussie accent, all the way from Lithuania in Europe. Šarūnas, welcome to the show. Can you please pronounce your name the way you pronounced it because it sounds so much more eloquent than how I've pronounced it.
Yes, thank you. So proper would be Šarūnas Navickas.
I love it. And I've also got Mally Bob here, who is the Chief Energy Officer of Bee Formless. His energy is pretty quiet at the moment, but I'll see how long he sits with us for. But he says a big hi and hello to everybody also. Šarūnas, I've been looking forward to chatting with you with regards to what you're doing in terms of the founder of your own business. But I'm going to switch it up. I want to start with, before I introduce your business as such and your achievements today. When you booked in for the pod, I found this truly, I guess it was just truly inspiring and super interesting and intriguing for me. And that was, I always ask when someone books into the pod, what's one unique insight when it comes to life, leadership, and or business? And you said my experience is very bottom up. You came from a very technical background, but strived for chaos. And what a time to be striving for chaos when we're in this complex and rapidly changing world. You know, we have to be organized in the chaos, right? And you said, so you ended up doing business, and Mally Bob's energy is picking up. And you said, understand myself better has shaped my major life decisions and overall journey. I hope others can relate and draw inspiration to their own paths. So
Yeah, so
tell us a little bit
I
about
guess I can.
that, and then we'll head into you and as a data engineer and educator and founder of Griaustinis Media, we can then get into that.
Mhm. Yeah, so the trait which is quite good, which was with me like since childhood was I was always very introspective, and I always was thinking about myself, what I trying to understand myself. Right? And early on, I understood that what drives me is building stuff. I was very keen on building. I was very into it, but like reality hits me. I was bad at arts. I was bad at electronics, bad at woodcrafting, all that stuff because other traits which I have is basically to do most of these things, you need to measure 10 times and cut once, right? And for me, I cannot do it like that. I do it like by eye, then adjust it. And in these things, it's very bad trait. But further in life, I understood that in computer programming, that's actually a good trait. You failed 100 times and you figured it out, right? And
Yeah.
it doesn't cost you anything apart
No.
from time. And I had when I was learning, I had lots of time, right? So I figured that this is I have an itch to build something, and this like a computer medium eliminates bad traits, right? So I was found my path. But yeah, I said I was always trying to understand myself. So I learned the program, and after high school, I got the first job, and actually programmer, web programmer. And at the same time, I joined university, but was like summer vacation, and it was really bad company. It was it was very, very sleazy. And at that time, I figured, okay, maybe all of the job market is like that, but I still love programming. So for a brief period, I thought that, okay, what I can do to keep programming, but don't go to these sleazy companies. So I actually focused on studies. I was I thought to myself, okay, maybe academic is a career for me. So actually, was top student in university. I was
Wow.
heavily focused in that. But eventually, I actually found a company to work and a great company. And then I understood that, okay, maybe academics is not for me. Maybe programming is good. I just need proper companies, proper environment.
Yeah, structure, all of that.
Yeah. yeah, and that was like a first insight that there are many different companies, and if I like programming, I need still to find the right
Yeah.
niche. So, but yeah, like a good thing came out that I actually focused on the studies, and I actually loved that. And because usually people they learn program, they start studying and they see they can get money and they are too lazy to study and say, okay, I have a job either way, right? So that was good for me that I had like a bad job at the start, right? And
So tell us a little bit about then this organized chaos, right? Because, or you strived for chaos, I should say. So
yeah,
as a data engineer, educator, and founder of, and again, I can't, and I'm not pronouncing this properly, so forgive me,
yeah, yeah,
Griaustinis Media, you create Lithuanian language programming education and you maintain open source projects under the handle of Zabaku. You blend
yeah,
bottom-up engineering craft. So all the learning you were just talking about, all the bottom-up, all
yeah,
the kind of
yeah.
career building with practical business building for clients and learners alike. So coming from that very technical
Yeah.
background, you strive for chaos. Where did this chaos piece come into it? And then how did this, I guess, so I assume this informed your business and being the founder of
Yeah, yeah.
the
So,
company?
so yeah, I'm kind of coming to that, right? So like as I said, I found a proper company, I worked in it, and eventually got bored because it was a very stable one, like a stable company. The most of the code base was like 30 years old by that time, right? So it was not going anywhere. We had like stable revenue, but it was quite boring. And I end up in a company which was not like a startup, but we had like a branch which was in early stages of research and development. And I joined the team and I really loved it. It was a chaos. We didn't know if we succeed, how to do it. It was totally chaos, but I loved that. But the bad part was we succeeded. And that's like a bit hard to understand. Maybe in US, usually we have like stock options, and if you succeed, you get a load of money, right? And you do something. Here you don't get a lot of money, you just succeeded. Okay, you did your job. And what happened? Like a company became a corporation. I got like a bunch of middle management over me. And from the like chaos, I went to the like I need to get like 5 signatures to ship anything.
Oh,
And then I quit. And I kind of went to academics again. And it was like a mix, right? In a sense, I was very into machine learning, and my university was very language focused. They were like, okay, we are based on Lithuanian language, everything we do is on that. So I got a project of like, okay, I did it was like I said, it should be machine learning, it should be document classification, my task. Okay, I loved movies. I said, let's do audience score. So I was scraping internet comments about movies and getting scores not from the critics, but from the audience and doing sentimental analysis and rating movies. And yeah, it worked. It was nice demo, got my master's. But after that, like mm, like how to say, supervisor of the masters, he was co-founder of another company who was focused on natural language processing. And I
yeah.
went to work to that company. So again, I got a lot of chaos because all of the projects was basically data science, and you don't know if it's like 5 days of work or 5 years of work. And I was constantly in this. And yeah, it was wild times. Eventually, I went to a bit more stable company, but again, it was a startup. It was like a building everything up, and I was in the process of like a building the data warehouse, data pipelines, all that things. I was like at first the only person. Later on, more joined, and again, it was a chaos. I loved it.
And so you started
And
your own company, right?
yeah, and it was chaos. I loved it. Chaos ended because we succeeded, right? And again, management, everything stopped. You need permissions for everything because like it's natural thing because if you are like succeed, you start generating revenue, you need to ensure that nothing breaks, which is natural thing, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I was striving for that chaos. So eventually I figure out as okay, instead of like joining startups and working at the start of that, maybe create my company, consulting company, and I join in that way. And it's like mutually beneficial because I say, okay, I can have like a 6 month of contract, 1 year of contract, I do my part, and we leave it, right? I get to join on the interesting part, and you get the benefit of somebody with experience in that. So that's the way I started. And yeah, now I'm fully working on my company. And yeah, there is of course like I'm always like I reiterating, checking myself, understanding it. There are some downsides. Like at the moment, I'm working with 3 companies. So I do get money, but the task switching for 3 companies is not easy.
Yeah.
And another problem, like usually in business, you have like down periods and high periods. Like you do nothing and something bad happens, and we call it fires, right? If you have one company, you can rest on the periods when it's calm and work when it's hot. When I have like 3 clients, it's always either of those is in the on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
So many
another thing I
themes,
found.
so many themes coming up for me,
Yeah,
Sharunas, in terms of just like that repetitive pattern and
yeah,
noticing where your energy goes and that you hit a point of you love being in startup, you love the chaos, you love the ideating, you love the kind of the unknown by the sounds of things and
yeah.
the ability to be open-minded and exploration. And then when
Mm.
as soon as it hits that point of, kind of same old,
Yeah,
you almost go, that's not for me. And then
yeah,
it's, coming into your own business, right? And then it's kind of being the manager, the leader, but also then having to manage your own time and you have more
yeah,
choices, right? And you think you can organize and manage the chaos, but then like
mm,
I say, you get 3 big projects that come in, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden you're like, hang on, I don't have this 6 month period of time off. I'm surviving, I'm optimally
mm,
thriving, I'm surviving, I'm optimally thriving. How do you how do you know when you're at capacity, and how do you know when to kind of step when it gets too chaotic, for example? Like how do you know that like this is just beyond, this isn't organized chaos. This is just, not healthy for
mm.
me.
Yeah, so again, like I'm combining random experiences with current one and trying to figure it out. So one thing, like I started doing way before, was to if I sit by my computer and I have like heavy tasks, eventually I will burn out. So I started doing like at first just walking, a lot of walking and thinking. Later on started running and thinking. So yeah, like I ended up doing marathons, triathlons. But one thing, it was like force myself to get out from the computer and think about things. So this is very valuable. I keep this every day, at least for 2 hours. I spend like walking and thinking. But another thing I learned, like doing marathon, that you need to find a way to rest while you're running. You don't stop and rest. You're still running, but you find a way to rest, right?
How do you do
Okay.
that? How do you rest and run?
Yeah, that's a tough part. But yeah, you slow it down, you check your pulse, you when you have like a water break, you make it like make it count. So you drink it, you pour it on yourself, all that stuff. So I'm doing similar things in business. It's hard to explain how I do that, but it comes like now naturally. Sometimes like I still manage to make a time breaks. So at some point, I am writing Slack messages and saying, okay, I will fix it soon, but I'm walking right now, so they think I'm doing longer. And when I come back, I do it quicker. So there is lots of that. Like I'm like technically always working, but sometimes I'm out from the computer. And there is a funny thing, the term is created by Rick Hickey, I think. So he created a term, hammock-driven development.
What was that? Say that
So
again, sorry.
hammock-driven development. So the story goes that he was creating a programming language called Clojure. Maybe it's very niche, so maybe most of the audience don't know it. But basically, he took like a half a no, maybe 1.5 years of vacation. He was just in his hammock in his house and was heavily thinking. And he said if I think for the most of the day and I code for like 2 hours, I do better job than sitting and coding for the whole day. So I'm taking this as well. So thinking more, writing less. But yeah, it's like there is no easy answer because all of the rest is and
You know,
in some cases I do other work and that's how I rest. In other cases I just do it slower, many
yeah.
things.
I love it. I love that you bring something up for me, which is, this thinking piece, right? Because we have this tendency to, when we're trying to solve a problem or whatever, we're constantly adding to our load. And then there's
Yeah.
also this thing called rumination when you are ruminating on something, but it's not a healthy rumination. You're worrying about where the next project's coming from. It could be a family or a life or a leadership thing, but there's also this thinking time, which is non-time, and exactly the guy you've just mentioned, and I've forgotten his name already. Forgive me, it's Wednesday evening here.
Yeah.
But there's this ability to ruminate in a healthy way in terms of you call it thinking, but it's non-time. So like laying in a hammock, throwing a
Mhm.
problem up, but then just laying there. And like you say, not writing, not coding, not doing anything,
Yeah.
but allowing the answers, the thoughts to come. I think that is so required in business in particular because we are so attached to our tech and the ability to be able to step away,
Yeah.
think, but not have everything, all the distractions coming at us, but instead it's almost like a form of meditation in a way, but that
Yeah, yeah,
ability to,
yeah. It's a type of meditation. And like there is one author, Ryan Holiday.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he does a similar thing. Do running. While he's running, he's
yeah, I do the
meditating
same.
in a sense.
Yeah.
And one more interesting thing, when running, you're still usually listening to music or a podcast. One thing to force yourself is swimming. There is nowadays special headsets where you could still listen to music, but usually you're swimming in total silence. And if you're doing like a 1 kilometer swim, it takes like a half an hour, and you hear absolutely like nothing, only yourself and with your thoughts, and you don't have distractions let me find a proper podcast, let me find a good music. You're just swimming, and that's it.
I love that. That's such a great one. Tell me a few questions for you. What do you find is the hardest part, kind of in terms of being a founder and having your own business? What do you find is, I guess, I can tell what's liberating for you is that ability to run your own show and, be able to, kind of, you love. You love the unknown, you love the, ideating and creating. What would you say is the biggest challenge as a founder for you being?
Yeah, so for me, one thing is simply finance. Like if you are working in a company, you get salary and you just forget it. If it's like not your day, you do less work. If it's your day, you do more work. Here, I could charge for like a non-existing tasks, right? But like my conscience doesn't allow me. And sometimes I have like a 2 hours booked from the whole day because I couldn't work that day. But eventually I still need to pay the bills, and this is it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so financial stuff definitely comes up. And yeah, for me it's like I have another trait, but it's like maybe related to ADHD, but I'm not officially diagnosed, right, with that. But it's usually like there is like periods. Sometimes you do nothing, sometimes you do too much. It's like
That constant, I call it oscillating between survival and
yeah,
optimally thriving. And
yes. So yeah. So people who like was trying to diagnose, there are like similar traits to bipolar, but not as heavy, right? But still you have the up periods and down periods. And yeah, usually still like in proper company, you just get salary, fixed salary, and that's it. Here you have like either you overworked or you do nothing whole day. So it's a bit hard. But still, I find that it's still better because when I'm overworked, I do a lot. So it comes down like on average, it still comes down okay.
yeah. And so then how do you manage that though? Like to avoid burnout? Like how do you ensure that like you must be aware when you're working too hard and then you pull yourself out of it to be able to, is that when you obviously go for your walks or your runs? Like how do you ensure that this is long lasting? Because by the sounds of things, you're never
Yeah.
going back into a full-time, being an
Yeah.
employee again. So how do you keep yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. So usually when I have uptime, like when I'm overworked, I know that soon will come the downtime, right? And in downtime, I just download some series, watch TV, right? Or just gaming. And I know that like for 2 weeks, I will do nothing productive. And then I still like recover and it goes again. It's like oscillating, right? So I know that after up, there will be like after sun, it will be night, right? So I always expecting it and planning for it in a sense.
Yeah, I love it. And that for me is that organized chaos because being in a
Yeah.
startup in a build in building mode. In terms of In terms of, I guess, from a leadership perspective and bottom up, if we think about it from a bottom
Mhm.
up, you talked around my experience is very bottom up.
Yeah.
How has that experience shaped you in terms of the leader you are today in your own company? Because you were talking around the different businesses you've been in and
Yeah.
having the leaders above you and like what did you like was there more like did you observe what not to do and then what to do and then what did you take with you? Like how has that, I guess, enabled you to be the leader and the founder you are today of your own company?
Yeah, so one thing, um, maybe different in different parts of world, but here, at least in Lithuania, if you are like performing good in your role, like a good software developer, we see great. Okay, we promoting you to a manager. And for me, it's like I like building stuff. I don't want to manage people, and I don't want to become manager. And it was like many times I occurred in that. And when I say I don't want to be a manager, you say, okay, so we will hire somebody, and that somebody will like start being asshole on me, right? So yeah, this is like that bottom-up approach. It was always like need to stick to the roots and how I navigate because if I'm just sitting in the company and saying, okay, don't want to be a manager, we see that this is not we see it as a lack of ambition in a way, right?
Mm.
And it's not lack of ambition. I'm not lacking it. I just want to keep building stuff. So in a way, that's why I created my company because now I have like client customer relationship, right? And I say, okay, I will come, I will charge you a lot, I will build stuff, and I will leave to another company. In that way, I don't need to do like a management stuff. Okay, in a sense, there still comes a point when I need to do like have somebody to delegate work, right? But still, I'm looking at this as a leader perspective. So preach by example. I'm doing that for my kids. I'm not saying to do sports, but I'm always doing in the early mornings, doing my gym routine. And kids are seeing that, and either you figure it out to do the same stuff or you not.
Yeah.
That's your problem. So I do similar here. I'm like a leading by example. And yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like not many people get that, right? But at least I can choose who to work with or how to work with, right? I get this freedom because in the normal environment, I don't have
No,
these things.
no.
And I get to the situations where I'm like, they keep me at the bottom because I don't want to be a manager, and we don't know any other roles. Like normally there is an architect role, tech
Mm,
lead role, but
mm.
we forget that. So this is a way how to like avoid explaining that and doing what I want. So I'm always to the roots. And actually, I took this as inspiration from my previous boss. He was like owning company, but he was still programming. And after that, he even got like a sponsorship on open source project to do keep up good work and etc. So I view him as inspiration that I don't strive to be a okay manager, right? I strive to be maybe not the low level architect, but do bigger things, but still keep it in that way. And another inspiration is DHH. Don't know if you know him, but he's like a founder of Basecamp, Ruby
Oh,
on
okay. Yep.
Rails. Yeah, so he's again I loved his blog. It was like the day I became millionaire, right? They sold a share of company to Amazon, and he said like I went to the cash machine ATM and I see over $1 million inside. Okay, I bought a nice car because I love cars. And then I kept up working. He said, okay, I now I can code without stress about money. That's it.
I love it.
Right. So
Yeah, sorry, you go.
yeah, so I see this as inspiration. If for example, if I would have infinite money, I would still be programming, but maybe like creating a game with no deadline and with no reason to sell it, but for the sake of creating it.
I love it. And
Yeah.
I love that you are staying true to you and your roots and who you
Yeah.
are and what you are and not trying to be something that you know you're not. And in terms of creating your own company, you know, being rooted in what you are a specialist and know what your strengths are and continuing to master those strengths. What would be one final question for you? What would be one piece of advice you would give anyone who was in your position in terms of because you changed roles quite a bit before you started your own business, right?
Yeah.
What would be
Yeah.
what would be one piece of advice you would give somebody who was, you know, that bottom up approach and they in their heart of hearts they knew that they wanted to start their own company? What would be your one piece of advice to them?
Yeah, so like one thing what I did is to do things in parallel. So you can be treated as a lottery when usually in the stories you hear a lottery approach. In the real life, you can be a lot more strategic. So what I had, I built systems for some clients while I still on working for the company. Then I left. Those clients said, "Okay, we don't have anyone else to maintain the systems. We don't have where to go. Can you please help us?" Okay, I say I can dedicate 10 hours a week for you. And I was not paying that money to myself, but keeping in the business account. At some point, I see that I have enough money for like a half a year. And then I jumped to
Start your
made
business,
the
yeah.
leap of faith, right? So it was like calculated risk. It was not a lottery.
Yeah, I love it. That is such a good one, in terms of like it's not easy being in a startup and starting it with a bit of a side hustle and that calculated risk. Sharinas, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your company? I mean, I have it all here, but where is the best place to contact you?
I guess the best way is the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right, and actually I didn't mention it yet, but I actually working now on the startup SaaS company, but totally bootstrapping it and maybe take like another half a year to launch it. But maybe you will hear from that. If I succeed, if I fail, you just forget it.
I love it. I love it. That's very exciting. Well, who knows? Well, let's chat in a year's time and see where you're at. I'm sure this podcast
Yeah,
will still be going. We'll both be able to check in and see how we're both going. So, Sharina, thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I love that kind of the authenticity that you brought to this conversation. It's something that we need more of in the world. And, being true to your roots from the inside out, which is what Be Formless is all about, that reshaping of life, leadership, and business. And thank you. So have a wonderful, I was about
thank
to
you
say
too.
evening, but have a wonderful day. It looks like the sun is shining. So
Yeah.
enjoy your morning walk.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the conversation. Love it as well.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.